Okay, so this is interesting and something I've seen quite a bit of. Sil here, a regular viewer and listener of the channel, appreciate you. Kara Lawson, Duke is getting beat up by non-ranked teams this year with a 3-3 record. Should we be worried? And that is in reference to Team USA. That's kind of been the sentiment I've seen out there. Duke struggles, therefore the wrong coach hire was made for Team USA by Sue Bird. If you're unaware, Sue Bird, now the managing director of USA Basketball, and Kara Lawson, now the head coach of USA Basketball.
The whisper started almost immediately because, of course, they did. A coach coming off a rough college stretch was suddenly handed control of Team USA. And not just any Team USA, but one featuring the most electrifying name in the sport, Caitlin Clark. The pressure skyrocketed instantly, and the internet absolutely detonated. Fans stormed social platforms and comment sections demanding clarity. The question haunting everyone felt simple, yet terrifying. Was this a disaster waiting to unfold? The backlash wasn't just triggered by Duke's shaky resume. It came from a deeper fear, a fear that the future of American basketball was being put at risk, and that the sport's biggest star was being placed under an almost crushing level of expectation. Almost overnight, the outrage turned into a raging national debate, casting a heavy cloud over the upcoming Olympic cycle and the team's much-anticipated training camp. The volume of concern grew so massive, so fast.
Ranked teams, but South Florida is a loss as well. West Virginia is a loss as well. So not a great start for Duke. But here's the reason I push back a little bit. Because college coaching to me a lot of times is just so much more about recruiting than it is about actual coaching. It's about the talent that you have on your team. And I don't know, enough. Let me first of all say I haven't watched enough Duke to say like what the coaching pros and cons have been.
That ignoring it became impossible. And honestly, Duke's shocking 3-3 stumble only poured gasoline on the fire. Unexpected losses to unranked teams like South Florida and West Virginia became perfect ammunition for critics. The same question echoed everywhere. How could Kara Lawson, newly chosen to lead the most dominant basketball program on earth, justify such an unstable start at the collegiate level? The narrative formed instantly, and it was ruthless. If she was struggling at Duke, how could she possibly manage a roster overflowing with world-class talent? This wasn't being framed as a coaching slump. It was painted as a warning sign. A sign that Team USA's iron grip on global basketball might finally be slipping. But not everyone was buying into the apocalypse talk. Analysts and insiders jumped in, pointing out the massive gap between coaching in college and coaching professionals. College hoops, they argued, is often more about endless recruiting battles than about designing elite playbooks.
If it wasn't for Kara Lawson, I wouldn't be thinking about Duke at all. But here's the real truth of it. She doesn't have to recruit for Team USA. So any of what I just said is irrelevant, right? Because we already know the roster and talent. So this is about whether she can coach it. And I doubt Sue Bird makes a choice like that without the confidence in Kara Lawson. And I think, there's a level of respect that she's garnered and gained throughout her career. And just take a look at the roster for a second. Here's the Team USA roster for the training camp. This isn't the Olympic.
Your roster literally dictates your ceiling. This crucial distinction, they insisted, was being drowned out by the noise, leaving the public with a warped idea of Lawson's actual coaching ability. And then there's the decision-makers behind all of this. Sue Bird, USA Basketball's managing director, doesn't make emotional or rushed choices. Her evaluation was deep, deliberate, and fully intentional. To suggest she picked Lawson because of a few early-season college games wildly misrepresents how Team USA decisions are made. Kara Lawson has accumulated respect throughout every stage of her career. Her reputation among top-tier basketball minds is immense. This was not a gamble. It was a strategic move backed by years of proven leadership. But the online outrage had conveniently ignored that entire history.
For the national team, and you can see it's superstar laden. One thing that's super interesting is Caitlin Clark wearing 17, because you're so used to her wearing 22 that it stands out. when you see she's got a different number. But I've said for a while, I think this 28 team, we're only coming up on 2026, so there's a little bit of time before the Olympics. But this 28 team is going to be a bit of a dream team, I think. Not quite the same. I don't want to oversell it because there was such a spectacle to the 92 Barcelona team that went there because, the pros for the first time and magic.
Then comes the cultural bomb that is Caitlin Clark. She's not just a basketball player, she's the sport's biggest global attraction. And now she's stepping into camp, wearing number 17, a symbol that instantly set fan discussions on fire. Her presence cranked up the pressure on Lawson exponentially. Suddenly, every frame, every angle, every tiny moment involving Clark became fan-dissected content. One look at the training camp roster reveals just how loaded the team truly is. Paige Buchers, Juju Watkins, Angel Reese, and a lineup of seasoned veterans create a near-dream team foundation. And here's the twist. Lawson doesn't need to recruit any of them. The talent is already curated, already elite, already focused. Her role is purely to coach, which shifts the entire narrative away from Duke's recruiting struggles into something far more relevant. Managing and maximizing superstar talent.
Pros for the first time, and Magic and Bird and Jordan and Charles Barkley and all that. But I say that because this team will be composed of a lot of the players, namely Caitlin Clark, who came up in this rapid rise era. But you get there in the backcourt, Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers and Juju Watkins, right? The young superstars, along with whatever remaining veterans are still in their prime at that point. So I don't want to call them old guard.
Clark's jersey number switch to 17 instantly went viral. Fans have seen her in 22 for years, so the change felt symbolic. A moment that marked her transition from collegiate legend to national team cornerstone. It showed just how obsessively the world follows her every step. Experts agree that this generation Clark, Buchers, Watkins will define the direction of Team USA heading toward 2026 and 2028. Every decision, every lineup shift, every coaching adjustment will be magnified under an enormous spotlight. This era isn't just about staying dominant, it's about transitioning into a new chapter powered by the most recognizable faces women's basketball has ever seen. The roster's star power is undeniable. Clark, Buchers, Boston, Reese, Watkins, Jackie Young analysts are already imagining a starting five with Clark, Buchers, and Young at the core.
The basic premise is it will be a changing of the guard in favor of more dynamic guards, which is kind of the way that the game has gone. And it will be the Caitlin Clark team alongside, the other. Think about that poster. And I know, they promoted it, and they used Kelsey Plum and Kalia Copper and I forget who the other one was on the graphic. And some people were like, oh, not some people. It was Christine Brennan who said, they should have featured Caitlin Clark on the graphic.
Even practices and scrimmages are expected to explode online simply because of the personalities involved. Some iconic veterans didn't appear on the camp list, players like Aja Wilson and Brittany Griner, signaling a deliberate generational shift. That absence only strengthens Clark's rising status within the program. And let's be real, unless something wildly unexpected happens, Caitlin Clark is going to be the starting point guard for Team USA. That puts Lawson's decisions under a microscope. With Clark orchestrating the offense, everything becomes part of the ongoing Clark narrative. Even a minor promotional graphic that didn't spotlight Clark blew up online. Fans argued she should have been front and center, despite the graphic featuring established Olympic champions.
And some people were like, oh, not some people, it was Christine Brennan who said, they should have featured Caitlin Clark on the graphic. I'm not getting worked up over stuff like that. To me, that was them showing players who were there and won gold in the last Olympics. Caitlin Clark has been invited to the camp. It's, there's no more controversy there. Caitlin Clark will be on the team. Caitlin Clark will be the starting point guard for that team, barring anything strange and out of the ordinary. This is the graphic that was shown that I just referenced.
This small spark ignited a huge debate, proving once again that Clark's influence is unmatched. Another interesting storyline is the inclusion of Sarah Strong, a young, rising talent. Rookies rarely crack the Olympic roster, but history shows it's possible, making the selection process even more compelling. Importantly, Lawson isn't operating solo. She has a full staff of court coaches supporting her at camp, which demolishes the idea that she's unprepared or alone in this. The structure surrounding her ensures stability, experience, and a clear blueprint. And while international, teams are getting stronger, with France recently pushing Team USA, the Americans still possess a talent advantage. That rising competition only sharpens the spotlight even further. In the end, the doubts built around Lawson, largely based on Duke's early season problems, look massively overblown. International coaching is a completely different beast.
For the actual Olympics, but she ain't going to be the only coach on the sideline, let's put it that way. And it would almost take active sabotage. The rest of the world's getting better now. Don't get me wrong. It's not quite like it is on the men's side, but we saw, France gave the U.S. a run for their money in the gold medal game in 2024. But the rest of the world is getting better. It's no longer the gap that it once was, but it's also not quite where it is on the men's side, where, you don't know, no matter how talented the team is. So I wouldn't have too many Duke doubts about Kara Lawson as the coach of Team USA.
The roster is absurdly talented, and the support system is as strong as it gets. The real story isn't doom. It's a powerhouse program gearing up for another era of dominance, led by Caitlin Clark as the centerpiece of a generational shift. A new chapter that promises to be intense, historic, and unforgettable.